I worked for free this week. Actually, I lost money. And now the truck has a HEUI problem. No, not that kind of HEUI. Ah, heck. Just roll the intro. Hi everyone, I'm Connor for Crossbuck RV Transport, and thank you so much for joining me for another video. It really does mean the most to have you all here with me, and to read the comments that you leave. We start out with something kind of funny that I saw on 8094 just outside of Chicago this week. Check out this broke down electric semi. Turns out EVs may not be the future of trucking just yet. This week was supposed to be an easy moneymaker. I left out on Memorial Day taking advantage of open highways and closed scales. I've had bad luck working on a holiday before, but this time I avoided any trouble. Back to my favorite dealership, I unloaded at Bish's RV of Lincoln, bringing them 2 more Jaycos for $264 a mile at 645 miles. I bounced empty back to Indiana that night. Runs like these are my favorite. You can drive out in a day, spend the night at the dealership or close by, and then drive all the way back to Indiana after unloading the next day. And that's exactly what I did. By Wednesday morning, I was back in Indiana, reloading with another set of Jayco campers, again for $264 a mile, but this time going 760 miles to Bish's of Kearney, Nebraska. The weather was sunny and beautiful when I pulled up, but of course, as soon as I go to unload and the check-in gets started, the skies opened up. As you can see, pretty soaked on the ground out here. Was not looking to film in that kind of weather. It seems to be I can't get much for unloading video right now. Either weather or technical issues keep getting in the way. But if that was the least of my problems, I would have been happy. I made it to Iowa 80 that night, but I parked across the street at the Speedco so I could get a preventative maintenance service in the morning. $405 later, and the freight shaker had fresh fluids and filters and was all greased up and ready to go. I went across the street to Iowa 80 to go look at some lights for a future project on the truck, and I ran into my new friend Eddie. We chatted for a bit while he waited on his new fenders, and it's always cool to meet up with other drivers. So that was it, I thought. I'd be home soon, ready to enjoy the weekend after a nice, quick, profitable week without any issues. Except that's where things started to get really expensive. Coming up to Chicago, I had just cleared the Mokina scale when the truck started running rough and wouldn't make power. Last week, I changed the IAP sensor and thought, the sensor seems to have fixed the issue for now, and well, I was wrong, and it was about to hurt my wallet. The CAT 3126B and E models use a HEUI pump, hydraulic electric unit injection. The pump uses some of the engine oil, pressurizes it to a very high pressure, to actuate the injectors. The IAP, or injection actuation pressure sensor, that was replaced last week was not my issue. Or at least, it wasn't the only issue. As I'm coming to find out, the gentleman I bought the truck from was not very knowledgeable about the truck's condition and may have neglected a bit more than I realized. Thankfully, I'm very mechanically inclined. I have close friends who are mechanics. The shop I take my truck to when I have a project that's too big for me is very helpful, and best of all, the gentleman who built this truck into the Holland tow that it is actually reached out to me on Facebook when I first bought it, and I can still talk to him from time to time when I have questions that come up about the truck's history and things like that. Now, Cody Johnson said it best. I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week, and I was lucky. The HEUI pump held out long enough for the truck to make it home, albeit about 42 to 45 miles an hour from Chicago all the way to Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was not a fun drive. Needless to say, there is no footage from that. The camera got turned off. It about got thrown out of the truck. but I'm learning to manage my anger a little bit better these days as I get older. That being said, virtual cookie to whoever can tell me where this shot was taken from. I got back in late. Being a Friday night, Caterpillar was already closed for the weekend. On Monday, parts were ordered and they started to come in throughout the week. I wouldn't get the truck back until the following Monday, to the tune of $2,463 in parts and labor. Cat doesn't seem to make new HEUI pumps anymore. So if you ever need this HEUI pump, be warned, the reman comes with a $777 core charge. That combined with my $405 PM and $798 in diesel this week, I very quickly outspent my income. So before we get into this, I gotta eat a little humble pie, and I need to amend last week's report. The expenses listed did not include fuel, and the profit line did not account for the total truck earnings either. It was a weird kind of profit or gross income minus fuel, but after expenses, but yeah, it was weird. Same with the expenses. It's not showing my true expenses if I didn't show the fuel. I did this in an effort to simplify things, and it actually has made it more confusing for this week, every week going forward, and maybe even a little misleading for some of you guys, and that's the last thing I want to have. So the numbers will reflect total expenses and the total income, every single dollar that hits my ComData card as a settlement from Indiana Transport. Weeks 3 and 4 expenses totaled up to $3,666, bringing the up-to-date expenses of this truck in 4 weeks to $20,766. This correctly accounts for every penny I've spent on this truck so far, including all the fuel. This week really tacked on a big chunk to the expenses, and as you're about to see, I indeed worked for free. My gross income from the 2 Nebraska loads was $3,367, putting me at a loss of $299 for weeks 3 and 4. However, that takes the total after 4 weeks up to $7,852, which is not bad considering I've only been able to work for 2 out of the 4 weeks of owning this truck. 1 month into owning this truck, and it's had me on an emotional roller coaster. Doing this line of work, the highs are the highest you will ever have. There is something so peaceful and tranquil about just working for yourself. You call in or you book your load on the app, you go out and you run it. You choose when you want to pick up, when you want to deliver. There's no brokers to deal with. There's no middlemen. You just load, drive, unload, drive. Life's pretty simple. Like with every other owner-operator position, though, the lows are devastating. I was sick to my stomach the whole drive from Chicago back to Indiana, just praying the entire time that the HEUI pump would hold out and I wouldn't need a couple $1,000 tow from a wrecker. I sat there on pins and needles waiting all weekend for Caterpillar to open up to find out how much that HEUI pump was going to cost me, because I looked it up online and I was sick to my stomach, and I really, really was hoping that the number was wrong, but it wasn't. And even then, sitting around waiting for the truck to get fixed was a mix of emotions. I enjoy the extra time with my family as always, but in the back of my mind, all I can think about is, when is the truck going to get fixed? When can I get back out there and start making up the money that I just lost? Of course, the truck is out of the shop now. It's back running. For those who don't know, these videos usually come out about a week or 2 after what's actually going on. There's usually a week delay in my video production. Connor from the future here can say that the truck is fixed and running good as new, which works as a sneak peek for next week's video. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on it. That being said, I want to thank all of you for staying to the end. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Stay safe and take care.